Okay, I've been wanting to put together a presentation to talk about orbs. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and after watching some television and reading some stories on online and looking at some YouTube videos, if I didn't soon do this, I was going to blow a gasket or something. So let's have a little discussion about this, and please leave comments if you have any. I'd like to hear what you have to say. The big debate that orbs are the most debated part of the evidence at this point in the history of paranormal investigations. And even though dust, water droplets, snow, pollen, water, mold spores, and other materials can mimic the way orbs look physically, there are important differences that we have to examine and identify before something can truly be called an orb. As a generally accepted rule, there are 3 questions an investigator can use to determine if an orb is genuine or if it's just some sort of airborne particulate. And these are: number 1, circular. Is the orb in question perfectly circular? By definition, an orb is a circular or sphere object. If an orb in question is elliptical, oval, diamond-shaped, or any other shape for that matter, it's not a true orb. Therefore, the potential for an airborne particulate is almost 90%. I would even guess a little higher than that. Number 2, is the orb 3-dimensional? Does it stand out from its surroundings, or does it have depth in the photograph? If it doesn't, it's probably an airborne particulate matter or something on the camera lens. And number 3, self-luminous. Is the orb self-luminous? Does it emit its own light? Now, orbs we can classify into 2 different groups: an HDO, which is a high-density orb, or LDO, which is a low-density orb. The high-density orb are the least common of the 2 types of orbs. These orbs are the only anomaly in a photograph that are opaque or solid in appearance, and they glow brightly from within. And these orbs are usually on the magnitudes of 2 and 3, which are bright or super bright. And a low density orb, these are the most common types of orbs, and this is pretty much what we see whenever photographs are taken and orbs are mentioned. And these can very closely resemble airborne particulate matter. The primary difference between these orbs and airborne matter is that although they're translucent, they're light emissive. This type of orb is a magnitude 0, almost completely dark, or number 1, very dim. And much like stars in the night sky, orbs can be measured by their magnitude or their brightness in a photograph. And although this is just one system for classifying, orbs, I believe that it can be a useful tool for those of us who are serious enough to explore it. The basic idea behind orb magnitude is that we can now classify orbs so that they may be understood in relation to events such as solar flares, geomagnetic storms, or anything else in that nature. Orbs rated by magnitude will often follow an ascending scale from 0, which is the least brightest, which we just discussed, to number 3, which is the most bright. And arguably the most common cause of orbs are dust and other airborne particulates, and even small insects. When solid particles are floating just inches in front of the camera lens, then the flash makes them very bright. And this particle is out of focus, so it just shows up as a round spot of light in the picture. Moisture in the air can also catch the light and cause these photographic orbs. It's important to know if the air was damp that day the picture was taken, whether it was raining or snowing. These particles, when exposed to the flash, cause refraction rings that form within the orb, which then can easily be seen without much effort. These rings are caused by the particle refracting the light back to the lens. Different particles may have different rings and different types of rings. Orbs can also be created by bright lights in an area where the photo is being taken, by angles of light, and many types of artificial lighting. Lens flares caused when there's a bright light, like the sun, in a picture or just outside of it. The source of light reflects off a portion of the lens and creates internal reflections to the aperture of the camera. Colored orbs may just depend on what light reflections were present when the photos were taken. While rare, except in some heavy swampy marsh areas, ball lightning may also be mistaken for an orb and may fit the requirement of the previously stated. Now, some have argued that these anomalies could be dust or airborne matter. However, unless the dust was radioactive, it probably would not glow on its own. Dust, water vapor droplets, pollen, mold spores, and other materials can only be photographed within a few feet of the camera, which is generally the effective flash distance. So any orb outside this range meets 3 primary criteria. It cannot be disproved by this line of reasoning unless it was a bright light seen off in the distance, such as a building light or lights off a tower, solar grave marker lights, reflections, surfaces, or dim lights commonly seen within homes. More often than not, I've seen photographs taken by someone that's some sort of airborne matter, which they truly believe is an orb. And when you try to explain the reasoning utilized in these 3 questions, it's that what they've photographed is not a real orb. Some people become upset and insist that it's an orb, and some people so desperately want to believe that they captured ghost activity in their photo and believe this, they will not listen to any logic or scientific reasoning that would indicate otherwise. If you're evaluating a photograph and the anomaly in the photo doesn't meet those minimum of 3 requirements, whatever the photo is, almost without question, it's not a true orb. In order to avoid this is it or isn't it argument, there's still some insist that an orb, because it has an unusual color, you may want to refer to this list on these samples that I have provided here. The orb colors and what causes them. Orbs that are within the yellow, orange, or red areas is most often pollen. And orbs that are in the green or blue ranges are mold spores. And the gray orbs, which are most common, especially inside of homes during investigations, is most likely dust. And white or blue orbs could be snow, water vapors, or also dust. Here are some samples. These are the gray samples, and we've all seen them in photographs, and these were all created on purpose so we can get photographic evidence of different types of gray orbs and different types of dust and water vapor. The next photograph are samples of color orbs, and these are anywhere from your molds to your pollens and that type of thing. And finally, which isn't something we really touched on yet, are insects and how insects can be misinterpreted. Now, if you look at the samples, the first thing you notice is that maybe only 1 or 2 are even remotely close to being orb in shape. So these are pretty easy to pick out. And my final thoughts on this. It's amazing to me the number of paranormal shows who purposely pass this stuff on as orbs as being genuinely paranormal in nature. And the sad thing is the people that are telling these stories actually believe this, and these people believe this in direct response to the shows that they're watching on TV, and they believe it. So basically, they're made for those people who don't know any better, and they feed this. So the biggest question is, how long are people going to cling to this ridiculous belief just so they can claim to be part of something paranormal? It just undermines any serious attempt at capturing a true paranormal phenomenon. These are my thoughts on this. If you have any comments, please leave them. Curious to hear what you have to say.